Hey everybody, welcome back to All-32. Good to be back with you. This is Sean Conti. I got Mr. Jamual Forrest with me. What's up, Jamual?
What's going on, bro? How you feeling?
Feeling goddamn good. Hopefully everybody had a good holiday. By the way, you can catch our first episode over at thehogsty.com. Make sure you listen to that. But we are super glad to be back with you this week. Jamual, you eat anything good for Christmas?
Yeah, I eat anything good for Christmas. Turkey, man, beef.
Me too.
Macaroni and cheese, banana pudding, sweet potato pie, all the good stuff, man.
All the good
What
stuff.
What about you?
I had the same thing, and I was thinking about that. Like, I had turkey for straight 9 days after Thanksgiving, so this was the return again to turkey. I'm sure everybody else is in the same boat too. Tweet at us if all you eat is turkey in this string of holidays in November and December, because that seems to be all I eat.
With 9 days, bro, 9 days in a row, you gotta start getting creative with that.
Yeah, I know, like
turkey sandwiches,
turkey salad,
rolls, turkey salad, all that type of stuff.
No, God, man, it's like a turkey overload. But anyways, it's good to be back. Hopefully all our listeners had good holidays too. We got plenty to talk about as the playoffs roll along here. We hit you guys last week with the talk about the NFC conference. So let's move on over to the AFC this week. By the way, once again, catch our NFC episode last week over at thehogsty.com. But yeah, let's jump into it with the AFC stuff. And, man, maybe we should start broad, talking some surprises and disappointments. And maybe I'll just lead off here to say, Jamual.
All right.
You're lying if you don't think Oakland is the biggest surprise out of the AFC this year. I mean, right? That's obvious, right?
Yeah, it is pretty obvious. Specifically for the fact that I thought they were going to be better than last year. I think last year they were 7-9, but the fact that they jumped out to a double-digit win season this year and clinched the playoff spot before Week 17, like it's ridiculous.
First double-digit win, by the way, in 14 years, I believe it is.
14, oh my goodness.
Yep. First time above 8 wins, I believe, in 14 years.
Oh, no. You said above 8 wins. Okay. Because I'm about to say they had some with Jason Campbell and Hugh Jackson, but that was at 8 wins on the dot.
Yeah, see, there you go.
So, yeah, it's incredible. 14 years, I didn't even know that. But at the same time, when you deal with Oakland where they're usually or typically the bottom of the AFC West, and then you see a guy they drafting Derek Carr, and in that same draft, get Khalil Mack. That's two franchise changing players right there. And obviously every single year they've been on the team, they've improved. So I think 4 wins the first year to, or maybe 2 wins, I'm not sure. I can't remember. But 2 wins or 4 wins the first year to 7 wins to now 11 wins this year is definitely a surprise. And
huge improvement.
They got off the gates, like starting like 5-0 on the road. And it was just crazy how they got off to a good start this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people fancied themselves smart and like to say they, had them slotted for a wild card spot, but I don't think anyone predicted a first round bye. I mean, they've killed it. They've had, and to your point, they've had 6 fourth quarter comebacks. I mean, this is a team that knows how to fight. Like you said, they came out of the gate swinging this year. It's a strong team. I mean, Cooper and Crabtree leading the receiving core there. They've got a good trio of running backs. They like to use all of them. That's a solid team. My question for you is this. Are they for real, or did their hopes just die with Derek Carr's leg?
Well, before the injury, I had it written that they were for real. I think it was between them or Kansas City. So, actually, Kansas City, Oakland, and Pittsburgh to knock off the Patriots. Those were the legit options, to go in the first round and beat them. But with the Derek Carr injury, you got to think just a guy like that of that magnitude, what he meant to that team. He was so efficient this year. He slung it with confidence, slung the rock with confidence. He was, and that line did numbers for him. Like he was efficient back there, and he made plays for him. And he had 2 legit receivers and a dominant ground game. So, well, I shouldn't say dominant, but they were effective, top 10 rushing in the NFL this year. They were ranked 9th. So it's just with that Carr injury, it's no doubt that there's going to be a big drop off at quarterback for them. Matt McGloin is their backup. Who came in and won it for him.
Who is jumping up and down for Matt McGloin?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I hate to say it, but
except for those optimistic Raiders fans who I got somebody on my timeline who's talking about something. And I can't even pronounce his last name without messing up. McGloin We Trust or something like that. Posting
Oh,
all his
okay.
preseason clips talking about something he could take him to the promised land and all that type of stuff. I'm like, all right,
Right,
well,
right, right.
I respect your confidence. I appreciate it,
Yeah, no, we
but
certainly can. And I mean, like you said, they've been trending up, so maybe there's reason to hope, right?
it's reason to hope. But at the same time, next year is probably where they could even better. That
Yeah.
defense
See, there you go.
of them, yeah, that defense of them is they gave up a lot of yards, but they forced a lot of turnovers. And Khalil Mack has been a game changer, as I said before. And they've had playmakers in the secondary like Reggie Nelson, who came from Cincinnati last year. Led the league last year in interceptions, and this year he's not leading the league, but he's no drop off in terms of production back there. He's making plays, picking the ball off, you know. And obviously we know about David Amerson, who this with the Redskins wasn't so
God bless them,
he
though.
had a good, exactly, God bless him. He had a good rookie season, but dropped off from there. Uh,
Yeah.
and in Oakland, his up and down play, but he forces turnovers as well, and he's a big hitter at cornerback position. So they got playmakers in the secondary, and you just got
Yeah.
to respect it. And they didn't do well this year in terms of yards, but with the cohesion and another year building up with that, with all the pieces they have on that defense, next year can be the year where they actually do damage in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We'll see. We'll see what happens with bated breath. Obviously, definitely one of the Cinderella stories this year. So let's talk about some other surprises before we move on. And I mean, I got some notes. I got one of your points there about Amerson just reminded me. I have a note here under Miami. That's another one of my surprises. Bakari fucking Rambo. That's another Redskins player that's overplaying in Miami, and it's like, how is he? How is he a starting player? I heard he was going to be selling cars. Excuse me, in Detroit, or I'm sorry, in Georgia, and apparently he found his way starting again on a team this year with Miami, who's also playoff bound. They're another one of my surprises this year. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on them, but they've been kind of, they've done some awesome things, including fight through some injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. As far as Rambo, I don't put no stock in that man doing
No, me
anything.
either. Me either.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
about to
kidding.
say I don't
Just,
put no stock in that man doing anything for the Dolphins. He had his
no, me
struggles
either.
here. He went to Buffalo and they put him in position to make plays and he made them, but he was still a liability in coverage. It's the
Yeah.
reason why he got cut. And then he found his way in Miami. But I mean, I appreciate what Miami's doing as well because they literally don't do anything special in terms of statistics speaking. So they're
Dude, I
bottom
wanted to.
half in the league. Oh,
You're
go
so
ahead.
right.
Go
I wanted to speak that. You're so right. Continue your point, but
ahead. No, I was saying they're bottom half of the league in defense and they're bottom half in the league in offense. However, Jay Ajayi has been their muscle. He stepped up. When Aaron Foster went down earlier in the year, Jay Ajayi is actually probably somebody I was pulling for in the preseason. Even before they signed Aaron Foster, a lot of people was all giddy over that signing. Foster got another chance, but Jay Ajayi was working hard. He didn't have that many opportunities last year, but when Foster went down, he showed out this year. Three 200-yard games, over 1,000 yards. I don't know a specific stat line, but
yeah.
he's done well, and Ryan Tannehill has been efficient for them guys. I think I
Yeah,
got
sorry to hear about Tannehill too. That's another guy that went down, unfortunately. So the Dolphins are dealing with another, with a backup quarterback situation in Matt Moore.
definitely, and it sucks because Ryan Tannehill was having he had the best completion percentage of his career under Adam Gase.
Yeah, I
We
like
all
Tannehill.
knew, yeah, we all knew as far as Adam Gase where he came from. He made his name in Denver, then went to Chicago, then ended up in Miami. All because he knew how to work with quarterbacks and he faced quarterbacks. Jay Cutler did well with him too, and we know exactly, we know his reputation.
Yeah,
He's a gunslinger, he's cocky, but he turns the ball over way too much. And under Adam Gase, he had a hell of a season. But obviously Ryan Tannehill was doing well this year as well. And it sucks for them
dude.
to go down because now you playing with Matt Moore.
Dude, they overcame a 1-4 start this season. Did you know only 6% of teams make the postseason after doing that? Miami's now one of them. I mean,
I didn't even know that.
they got deficiency, dude. I hear what you're saying, and you pointed out their defense. They have no running defense at all. They're like ranked 30th. It's like they don't even try. They did lose a
Absolutely not.
safety in Rashad Jones and Mike Pouncey in this as a center, which is tough for them. But They fought against some adversity, and I think you'd be surprised, especially a team coming off firing their coach last year. Like, did you expect this out of Miami?
Um, I didn't expect this. I expected like another between 7 and 9 wins.
Yeah.
Something that Tannehill is just
They're
used
another
to.
team that can't get to 10 wins. They've had a lot of trouble with that, in recent history.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you didn't expect this much from Adam Gase's rookie season as a head coach.
Right.
And I think the thing that
Right.
helps them a lot is especially with their defense, who's not that good at all, like you said. They create pressure, and their top. Let me see. They are sixth in the NFL in turnovers. They forced 25 turnovers this year. So if that's one thing that helps them, obviously it's the turnover factor, and they do real good at that. So I can see why they have the amount of wins they do, which is obviously forcing turnovers. But it all should be noted, these guys had a favorable schedule too.
Oh, dude, they've gotten lucky.
Favorable schedule.
You're so right. They're lucky, and like you said, they're only average in points scored, and they're about average in points allowed, and they're winning by a slim margin, like 4 points
Yeah,
average.
You got it
So
right,
they've
4
gotten
points.
lucky. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Anybody who else surprises you? Anybody else surprise you in the AFC in general? And we mean surprise in a good way, because we'll get to our disappointments.
Yeah, nah, it was. I just had the Dolphins and the Raiders specifically.
Yeah.
I would mention that the Chiefs surprised me in terms of this is mid season, not overall season, but they just surprised me in their production offensively. They're known for their defense. Their defense keeps them in the games, and that offense, man. Tyreek Hill has changed that offense. It made him. He made that offense dynamic alone.
Dude. Absolutely. So he's their promising, rookie wide receiver for folks who don't know. Absolutely. It seems like they've, I mean, you can speak to this, I'm sure, but it seems like they found a great system. It's like hit Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, short.
Yeah.
Alex Smith can run the read option at times. They don't seem to like to blast the ball down the field by any means, but I mean, maybe they don't need to do that.
Yeah, they don't.
Right?
Yeah, they don't really need to do that at all. They have a solid ground game. And then you have Alex Smith, who's not necessarily like we said, he's not necessarily the gunslinger that we know. He is throwing it down.
He's no world beater.
Exactly. He's not throwing it down. He's throwing it down the field a little bit more than what he was doing in previous years. But it's no drastic difference. But he's no gunslinger, but he protects the ball, and he's also mobile. He's very mobile, and he'll make sure that he keeps the chains moving as much as he can. He won't make the biggest mistake, to hurt the team. So they get it done offensively, and they have explosive plays. Like just last week against the Broncos, Travis Kelce took it for 80 yards on the screen.
Oh, that was a devastating game for Broncos.
And then Tyreek Hill took a handoff for 50-some yards, so for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So they're dynamic, and they make sure that they get the ball in their playmakers' hands. Jeremy Maclin hasn't even been a factor pretty much this season, and they're still putting up points. It's just how it is.
Yeah. No, they're serious, and we got to talk about them in the playoffs here in a little bit. Do you have any other surprises, or should we move to our maybe biggest AFC disappointments here?
We can move on to the disappointments. Because I had Dolphins and the Raiders for my surprises. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're the biggest ones. I mean, there are plenty of surprises, but they're more.
Those are the biggest ones that stand out for me. I'm pretty sure for you.
Yeah, in a positive sense, at least, right? Like, because the other ones are kind of disappointing, surprises. So, the first team that fits into that category for me, I would say, probably Baltimore or Denver. Those are my two big ones. Baltimore-wise, I think Flacco's just looked, I don't know, pretty tentative, not very confident this year. Their defense has played pretty well.
Definitely, top 5.
But I think a lot of people would say their game against Washington was kind of unforgivable. They abandoned the run game, and I think Flacco has like more passing attempts on average than any other quarterback or something. I mean, they really try to sling the ball around, and they have a good running back. It kind of doesn't make sense.
Well, I agree. I agree with as far as the disappointments, and I think we know Baltimore as a team who loves to run the ball, control the line of scrimmage offensively,
right,
and play good defense. And for some time they've been trying to drag and help Flacco out in the receiving positions. They drafted Brashad Perriman last year. They signed Steve Smith a couple years ago, and they signed Mike Wallace this year. and it's just for some reason, they keep trying to, like, to your point, they keep trying to, force feed their receivers through Flacco. He's struggling, and the offensive line is not really doing well for them as far as the ground game. They're struggling this year. So
Yeah.
for a team who wants to run the ball, they just can't, and that done them no favors, because Flacco is not the person who could throw it 35, 30 times a game and get you W's.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Definitely a disappointment there.
Did you happen to see the game
Who
Sunday? The Steelers
I
and
didn't.
Baltimore
I
game?
didn't. I didn't watch it. I obviously know the end
Yeah.
result, but I didn't
Nah, it
watch
was
it.
a hell of a game, bro. I will say one thing for Flacco: his clutch gene is always there.
I
Um,
know. I
but
know. He's one of those guys that can do that.
definitely.
I don't get it.
And before Pittsburgh scored, he let him down the field to take the lead himself. And obviously, you got to leave it in your defense's hands, so he doesn't get the win. But I will point out, I don't think he's a hell of a passer, but in terms of clutch gene, it hasn't altered at all. It's still there.
Man, well, that counts for a lot. I mean, sometimes that's all you need, frankly.
Definitely, especially when it comes down to last possessions. That's all you need.
Who else strikes you as a major disappointment here in the AFC? I've got a couple other teams, but what you got?
I mean, I had the Jaguars. Um,
Oof,
yeah. Now, before I go any
making me hold my nose now. No, sorry, Jaguar fans.
before I go any further, I wouldn't necessarily say I expected 9, 10, 11 wins out of them. That's
Sure.
nothing I expected at all. However, they're heading into week 17 with 3 wins. A team that was drastically
Yeah.
improved in the offseason, who had a shitload of money.
Yeah.
They signed a hell of a lot of players, and they did well with their signings. They didn't make any mistakes per se. Um, so when you go into week 17 with just 3 wins, obviously their coach got fired as a result. He was on his last leg.
Yeah.
He had something to prove, and he didn't prove it at all. Um, it's just frustrating. Blake Bortles, he had a drop off in production. He had a hell of a lot of turnovers this year. I believe Allen Robinson. I want to say it's Allen Robinson who his production dropped off. Um, one of the two receivers. I think it is Allen Robinson, but it's just so much that went wrong with the team that just hurt them. The defense was there in terms of yards, but they gave up so many points. Obviously, the
Yeah.
offense was a factor, but I just feel like as much as well as they did in the off season, uh, it just went downhill once the season started, and that's just one of my major disappointments. I expected at least 7 wins, 8 wins, an improvement uh, upon last year, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, echoing something of that sentiment, I'll talk about Denver, man.
Let me hear
I
that.
think Denver's kind of a big disappointment to me. I live here, for folks who don't know, I live here in Colorado. I'm a recent transplant over here to the Boulder, Denver area. And they are definitely a team. I can feel the disappointment, in the air with people. They lost 4 of their last 5, so they're not even ending on a good note. As we noted earlier, that was a crushing defeat
Yeah, they
last
looked like
week.
they were done.
Yeah, I mean that was just a morale breaker. So coming off, the Super Bowl win, that's a major disappointment. Yeah, what can you say? They had some problems. They lost C.J. Anderson. That hurt. They've got a new quarterback situation going. They had that open competition in the offseason. You knew there was going to be some instability there, but still, it's sad to see, and you see it so often. You see it so often happen to the Super Bowl
You
winner.
think Tony Romo's
Uh,
landing down there?
Dude, I don't know. Jesus Christ, I don't know. I don't know. Do you?
It,
God, that'd be wild.
it will be interesting. I say that much. It's we'll have to pay attention to what Dallas does, obviously, but
Obviously, the administration. I think the administration favors the old veterans. I think they're fine with that move.
definitely. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about, where Romo could land, and when you seen Simeon start off the season so well, and then as the season went along, he hit the, I wouldn't say rookie wall, but he started to struggle because
Yeah.
he's not a rookie anymore, but he started to struggle.
Yeah.
And Paxton Lynch didn't serve any type of promise to, Denver fans when he got into the game. He played a couple games as well. So, it's just interesting. Tony Romo can go in there if they want to pay for another, old, aged veteran. Wouldn't call him old because they still ball, but an aged veteran.
Yeah.
It's just it'll be interesting. Unless they just want to give
You,
Simeon or Lynch another shot.
but you got to remember, though, Kansas City ran and passed all over them in that first half alone for like 330 yards. It's almost like they could get a veteran and solidify that quarterback position, but they've obviously got other problems. And that's supposed to be a pretty stout defense. So they've got issues there. Aqib Talib did shoot himself at a nightclub this offseason, by the way.
Yeah.
That probably didn't help the juju going into the season. No, but you see my point, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
Just a lot of things, just distractions and things.
It
just
didn't go
went
well for them.
downhill,
Yeah.
since the start of all season. And also, Malik Jackson, the guy that helped stop the run with the Denver Broncos, went to the Jaguars. One of the disappointments.
Oh, great point.
So, yeah, I definitely see what
Tying
you're
it
saying.
all together.
Yeah, they might have to put their off season, needs focused towards the defensive line. So, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially with I'm pretty sure DeMarcus Ware might retire as well. He had another back injury. He's out for the season. Out for the last game. Has to have surgery. So, they have some things that they have to work on defensively as well, and it might just be, to your point, they might have to focus on that defense and just ride with those young quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. God bless them. So I hope the community here, my community here in Colorado, recovers.
You live in Denver, so you're going to hear it 24/7.
I know.
You better hope.
I'll trust me. I'll keep you updated every little thing that happens, because trust me, I'll know about it.
Got to.
Well, moving on from there, let's talk about some other general AFC teams. I know we had in our notes to talk about the Patriots. You want to talk a little New England? And God, I hate talking about New England. We talk about it every year, into eternity.
I'm about to say. Well, we can make it quick because we all know we know what we're both about to say.
Yeah.
They're great. Belichick is great. Tom Brady's great, and it's just amazing how they're number one in points allowed defensively, and they traded one of their best players to the Browns. So it's just crazy how they can scheme up their players, and they play solid and schematically sound. Like they don't make many mistakes. They give up points occasionally. It depends,
well,
what
does
team they
does
play.
it seem to you, to that point that you're making now, does it seem to you that when they win, they hold teams to less points, and when they lose, it's like it's a huge differential? And that sounds like a stupid point, but what I'm saying is they score about the same amount every time, right? But it's like it's the defense, whether or not that shows up, that really makes a difference.
The defense shows up in the biggest games, and obviously we saw the Baltimore game where they let them back in. It had a lot to do with special teams, I think. Special teams had a couple turnovers that let Baltimore back in the red zone, and they scored quick. And obviously, the defense is going to be held accountable for that. But I understand what you're saying. Certain games, especially where they lose, you see, especially against the Seahawks. Seahawks came in and beat them at home. They gave up a lot of points that game. So it's just, I understand what you're saying. But when they win, that defense shows up, and they show up in the biggest games as well. It's just some of those losses you see. Okay, well, obviously the offense they were playing. They played their best game and their perfect game. That's what you got to do when you play New England.
Right. No, that's a great point.
Who do you see in the AOC that can knock off New England?
I think, yeah. So this is kind of the point I was making, and I had Atlanta in my notes. Now I know Atlanta's an NFC team, but Atlanta was like the team that I kind of had like, this is a team that has, well, yeah, I mean, this is the team that has the recipe to beat New England, and I think they are a prolific offense right now. I mean, they are like even historically kind of really good right now. And going into the playoffs here, it's like the highest number of offensive yards on average, highest amount of expected points per game, and they've had a really friggin' tough schedule this year. So any team that fits that criteria, a high efficiency offense, that's the team that can beat New England. You're not going to dink and dunk against New England. I think that, like we said, their defense is the weak link, right? So you've got to light them up. That's what I would say.
Well, man. My squad is I got the Steelers knocking them off. If
Yeah. Yep.
they have the highest chances, is what I should say. I'm sorry. The Steelers
No.
aren't knocking them off. They have
It's a
the
great
highest
point.
chance of knocking them off. And quick note, since I just brought up the Steelers, I do just want to mention that Pittsburgh, all they need is Big Ben, Le'Veon, and Antonio Brown. That's all they need to get that, to put up points with those guys, and they can
So
do it with
jealous.
ease. Yeah, but Le'Veon is a game changer at the running
Yeah.
back position. He's a special player back there.
I mean, so you're telling me that it's those three guys in particular? Because I heard Terry Bradshaw say the other day that Mike Tomlin didn't even matter and that he was just a cheerleader for the team. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh no,
Which is
I gotta check Terry for that. Nah, hell nah.
Oh,
So
don't worry. Don't worry. The entire world has checked Terry for that comment because
yeah,
everyone knows that it's stupid. But I guess what I'm asking is, you're really saying it's these three guys in particular. It's more these three guys than it is the system.
yeah, I agree, and I think that what people don't, I'm pretty sure people realize they're AB and Le'Veon are so involved. Like they account for 56% of the total offensive yards for the Steelers. So
Nice.
that's just something alone. And Big Ben has 3,800 yards. He missed a game, but he has 3,800 yards and 30 total touchdowns, 29 passing touchdowns. So
Wow.
it's just those three alone. They keep that offense moving. Obviously they have other receivers outside of AB. They got Rogers, the slot man. They have
Mm.
not Martavis Bryant, but the speedster from Clemson, who's been making plays for them as well. But it's really just those three. If they don't have good games, they're not winning. That's just as simple as it is. And I got a lot of confidence in them, where they can make it past the first two rounds and get to the championship game face New England. I'd be legit shocked if it's not New England and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You sold me on it. I agree. You sold me on it. Yeah, I mean that would certainly be a nice thing to see. I don't know. I just don't know. Those are two teams that that would be a great that's a great game. That's a great matchup. I don't know if I'd feel
Yeah,
confident calling
the
either
thing
one of
is,
them.
like, we got Miami. I cannot count Oakland simply because of Derek Carr's injury. I'd love to keep them in play. But when you look at Kansas City and Miami's played basically a cupcake schedule. They had one win over a team that has a winning record right now, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, that was also a time where Big Ben was hurt and he was playing hurt, and the defense didn't do well either. So, you know, they played a cupcake schedule and they lost to New England already. They had a
Yeah.
other few balls. Where is it? Hold on, see. They lost to the Titans, the Ravens, the Seahawks, and the Patriots. Obviously, the Titans and the Ravens right now they have 8 wins, but I'm just counting them as a team with a winning record. So it's just you don't have much faith in them. In Kansas City, they have an offense, but when you go against New England, they scheme up. They take away your best weapons, and they force you to think outside the box. And if you're not sound and you don't execute well, you're prone to make mistakes. So I just don't see it with Kansas City, and I don't see it with Miami either.
Yeah. No, it's a great thought. I don't know. I think the AFC is interesting. We talked about the NFC last week. The AFC is interesting. I think the NFC has been the generally more weaker, obviously conference this year. The AFC is, been pretty competitive, and a lot of teams that have been eliminated have still been pretty competitive.
Definitely, especially Tennessee. If it wasn't for that, well, I thought they was going down to the Jaguars before the injury, but if it wasn't for that injury, it's just tough because they played pretty well against real good teams. They beat Kansas City on the road. So it's just a lot of things, a lot of interesting teams in the AFC. And the Colts made a late run before they lost previously last week. So it is real interesting. But the playoffs, when it comes to these injuries, is really comes down to like 3 teams in my opinion. I'd be shocked if it's not Pittsburgh and New England or Kansas City. I can see it, but who knows?
Yeah, no, it's up in the air. I mean, it's going to be some good football, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Well, maybe unless does anything else jump out at you? You want to move to our Final Four segment here, or what do you want to do?
Now we can move to that Final Four because we talked about pretty much that playoff race and everything else. So we can move to
Yeah.
that Final Four.
All right. Well, I think you let us off last week. I would be happy to lead us off this week. So let's talk about the recent news in NFL concussions. So, interesting topic, obviously, as always. So, most recent development here on the NFL concussion settlement is that the Supreme Court rejected basically to hear a case that challenged the earlier settlement that the NFL had with a group of players who sued the NFL. The NFL came to a settlement and an agreement with them, but then a smaller group of the players came forward and said it wasn't fair because it favored current injured retirees over undiagnosed former players. And after the NFL had settled, they then admitted elsewhere that they knew there was a link to between brain damage and playing football. They said because the NFL had admitted that, we should rehear this case, basically. So this got all the way to the Supreme Court where they rejected it, okay, which affirmed the Third Circuit Court's opinion. So I know that's a crazy, twisted, kind of complicated way of saying there's not really news, but, felt like it was worthy to at least update people that that's where things were at. So to just outline what the settlement says now, they have different tiers of injuries, basically, to your brain that qualify for different payouts, essentially, or benefits, with a maximum being about $5 million. So there's about 6 different tiers or 6 different conditions they say that playing football can give you. Parkinson's is one. Alzheimer's is one. Death, actually. Yeah, death, if it's found to be related to CTE, which is literally just bruising and injuries to your brain. That's about, they give you $4 million for that, et cetera. So that's essentially what the NFL has decided. But that's the story. What do you think about all that, Jamal? I know that was a million different things that I just said, but
Well, I had my thoughts summed up prior to this, and I just feel like the NFL knows what they do. When it comes to these retired players, I can't speak too much in depth. But when it comes to these retired players, they know damn well that these guys, they worked their ass off. They made this league the best it can be. It was
yeah,
entertaining. And they came away with lifelong injuries, chronic injuries that can, affect them the rest of their lives. And especially when it comes to brain damage, it's no joke. And regardless of what stage or what levels these guys, the NFL had things listed in terms of payouts, it shouldn't matter. They shouldn't necessarily uh, classify them as uh, level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the
right.
way up. They shouldn't do that. Regardless of what the issue is, they should be paid handsomely. I wouldn't say break the bank for these guys, but at the same time,
Right.
pay your respects. Like you know
Well,
what they've done for you guys, and I wouldn't say
dude,
pay them less than they just know what they're doing, and it's annoying because they try to act like they didn't know about these concussion issues, they didn't know about these brain issues, but they knew all along, and it's just crazy.
yeah, and I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me because the NFL makes, I mean, everyone knows this. The NFL makes a vast sum of wealth. It's somewhere to the tune of, $7 to $9 billion in revenue. We're talking about the NFL
Billions
itself.
with a B.
Yeah, billions with a B, exactly. We're talking huge sums of money. Teams themselves are valued at, in the billions themselves most of the time for NFL teams. It's really sad to think that they wouldn't take better care of the people who really matter, which is the players that make it big. I heard an estimate that said this is going to cost the NFL like $1 billion, $1 billion over something like, decades. And it's just so sad to me that it would even be questioned.
I don't even know why.
This
Yeah, I don't even know why they were fighting to begin with. When they got sued, obviously, did they come to a settlement prior to this period at all? Did they ever come to a settlement with these retired players?
They did. It's just the question was whether or not it was, fair enough. A
I
settlement
got
was
you.
reached.
Okay, so a
Yeah.
settlement was reached. It's just it's annoying. It's a
Yeah.
sensitive topic to deal with in terms of when it comes to uh the retired players and the new players because you don't necessarily know what these retired you can't speak for every single retired player, but you know for a fact like they made a movie over these retired players that had brain damages and CTE. These guys were killing themselves. They were hearing things. They're driving getting drove nuts. So it's just it's it's just something that they need to do better with. And I know that you said it got denied in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So it's just frustrating to deal with. When you look at the business aspect and the financial aspect and how they treat their players, they want all the revenue, but they don't want to pay their respects in terms of taking care of their players once they're done with the league.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'll also just to be fair to the Supreme Court, so to speak, they didn't necessarily hear the content of the case. They just said, we're not gonna even bother listening to this case. They get petitioned to hear certain cases, and this is one that they rejected. So, in other news, what's this discussion I hear about the Hall of Fame? And
oh yeah, man. How do you feel about your boy Steve Smith? Because Steve Smith is playing his final season. His final season and his last week on Sunday. So, obviously he said he came back from that Achilles injury and he didn't want to end his season on an injury like that. So he's made it all the way to week 17.
He's come back from a lot of injuries, haven't he? He's a tough motherfucker is what he is.
Yes, he's came back from a lot of injuries. And well, I guess I'll go ahead and spit his career stats out. And then I'm gonna ask you. It'll be an obvious question, but I still want to hear your thoughts on it.
Right.
So let me spit these stats out right quick. First off, let's go off with the fact that he's 5'9", and that made no difference with him in his career.
I love that. By
with
the
his height at 5'9",
love
exactly,
guys like that.
He played like he was 6'5". So receptions, he had 1,028 receptions, which ranked 12th all time. 14,697 yards, which ranked 7th all time. 89 total touchdowns, which is tied for 37th all time. Total touchdowns is rushing, receiving, and return touchdowns. 2005, he led the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, trifecta. Top 10 seasons. He had 2 seasons in the top 10 in receiving touchdowns, 4 seasons in receptions, 4 seasons in all-purpose yards, 5 seasons in yards per touch. 2008, he led the league in yards per game, receiving yards per game, obviously, with over 100. Let me see if I had anything else. He was elite in the playoffs, obviously, and multiple AP awards for first and second team honors. So, let me ask you the obvious question.
Yeah.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. And I mean, like you what else can I say? Like you said, the stats speak for themselves, but it's also some of the stuff that the stats don't even say, which is the fact that he's had some serious injuries that he's fought back from. The fact that he's been really good with different teams, multiple teams. Some guys in the Hall of Fame only play with one team. And the fact that he stayed consistently good and a solid contributor essentially through his whole career. He didn't have some long, slow, drawn-out, death of a career. He stayed a competitor to the end. So I think for all of those reasons, fuck yeah, he should be a Hall of Famer. I hope it happens sooner rather than later. Now, you know how these things work. It's going to take him, 700 years. But
I was like, what's the wait period? Ain't it it's like 5 or 6 years after you retire, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's when you become eligible. But then you got to get voted in, and some guys get nominated forever, and it takes forever. I mean, Steve, our friend over at the Hog Sty, could probably talk about this all night. But it's a complicated process, and he won't get it, as soon as people would like. But dude, fuck yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. He's just he's a likable guy too. And
I think when it comes to I don't know about likable. There's a lot of players that didn't like him, but the thing is though, they respected him. He talked hella trash on that field and he backed it up. I remember one clip.
Always backed it up.
Always backed it up in his football life on NFL Network. This man scored a touchdown, went to the sidelines, told his mama on the TV, "Hey, mama, I love you, but if you was on that field, I'd burn your ass too."
See, what's not to like about that?
Exactly. Like he's funny. He was dead serious when he said it, but you knew he was joking. But at the same time, these are the type of things, these are the type of plays he made.
Yeah.
this is the type of things that he said, that riled his fans up, and you just got to appreciate it. A guy like that, and especially later in his career, even with the Ravens, there was no drop off in production.
Yeah.
His first year with the Ravens was amazing.
Right.
So even this year it was solid too. So it's just the things that he does.
Well, and he like
this
hurt his
age,
spine or
35
something, didn't
years
he?
on. Huh?
Didn't he like hurt his
Can you say that
spine
again?
too with the Ravens?
Oh no, I don't think he hurt his spine.
Or his
I know it
back?
was his Achilles. It might have been his back.
I knew about the Achilles.
Yeah, his Achilles. I know he had an ankle injury this year. Maybe his back. Man, I don't know about the spine or anything like that, but I do think as far as Steve Smith as an overall career, general career, he had a hell of a campaign. And it's going to finish in a Hall of Fame season. I mean, a Hall of Fame career. So
Yeah. No, absolutely.
we'll see where it goes. I don't know. You have a good point though. I don't know if he'll get in on first ballot. Even though I think his numbers back it up.
Well, wide receivers have a hard time these days, man. Wide receivers don't get in very much these days.
They don't, and that's the thing that bothers a lot of them. Also, is another reason why they have the reputation known as divas, because they complain about a lot of things, even off the field.
Yeah.
So, but it's well deserved, these complaints sometimes, and I think a guy like Steve Smith should definitely be heavily considered for first ballot. He deserved it. His work showed it.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, what else do you got? You got anything else, or should we call it there? I think you had one other thing, didn't you?
Yeah, we can take about 3 minutes. I'll do a little quick touch and you can comment on it.
I'll do your thing, bro.
I just wanted to call out the Buffalo Bills. I think they're making a huge mistake with Tyrod. The issue that I have with them, they benched Tyrod for the Week 17 finale. Obviously, they're not making the playoffs. They fired Rex Ryan. And Rex Ryan was a big proponent in keeping Tyrod Taylor. Yep. Keeping Tyrod Taylor there. And especially him starting. He had to fight the front office, not literally, but damn near stand on the table like Jay Gruden did and Scott McCoy did for Kirk. He had to tell these guys and convince these guys, this is the quarterback that we need. This is the quarterback we need to be successful. Obviously, Rex Ryan was with Tyrod. No, he wasn't. I take that. I was about to say Rex Ryan was with Tyrod in Baltimore, but he wasn't. He was already the Jets coach. But
yeah.
My point is, he probably had connections. That's probably why he went to Buffalo. But Tyrod in his seasons there, he led the number one rushing offense both years in Buffalo. Had a 94 quarterback rating with 47 total touchdowns and 19 turnovers. Those are his 2 years with Buffalo, this year and last. But for some reason, the front office never trusted Tyrod. They never trusted him. They put a clause in his contract, that determine if this person does not play. Obviously, speaking about Tyrod, if this person does not play a full 16-game schedule, or something like that, his injury. I think something about his injury clause, something like that, where he doesn't have to. They don't have to pay him the full amount of the contract. It's not guaranteed. So they're not playing him because they call it a business decision. They don't want to risk injury, and that's fair and all. But at the same time, they're kind of hiding behind the fact that they never had faith in Tyrod to begin with, and that's a Rex Ryan's guy. I just don't appreciate it, and I think that if they make the decision to move on from Tyrod after this year.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, do we know that it's over with him?
We don't know that it's over completely, but at the same time, when you look at these type of things, I just feel like what they're doing is they're distancing themselves from Tyrod. That's how I feel. You don't bench a guy. What's your excuse? What are you really starting EJ Manuel for?
Yeah.
What do you have to show? I understand that he's a free agent coming up this year, but do you really have to start him to see, I need him to be my backup next year. I need to see if he's capable of being my backup. Like, that doesn't even make sense. The interim head coach even said in his press conference, he was not the person that started EJ Manuel.
Right.
Like, these things are just, I just don't respect it.
I mean, my only question is, I think you've got the right idea. My only question for you is it a situation where you do want to protect him because while he's shown some promise, you might be able to get more value out of marketing him elsewhere? for a team that obviously is going to need some help. I mean, that might be what's going on behind the scenes too, right? Like, it might not be any dislike for him. It might be, in fact, let's try to get, we have a lot of issues. He can't be the only guy here. Let's get as much for him as we can. And in that case, you got to kind of understand it, right?
So quick question. Just so you're saying, are you asking, do you think that they may be trying to shop him in the off season? Like, is that possible?
That's what I'm, that's what I'm wondering,
I mean, I can understand that. And obviously the angle that I'm taking, there's plenty of other angles to counter that. I understand that. And that could be another reason they may be trying to, save him for the off season. But honestly, no. Like, Tyrod is the answer in Buffalo. I don't care what anybody says. Like, Tyrod is the answer. You have a person who can move the offense. He protects the ball. It doesn't matter. Like, what's the point of benching him for a final game of the season? Let him finish strong and head into the next season with the crew that you have. You have LaShawn McCoy, you have Sammy Watkins, you have Robert Woods, you have Charles Clay, and you have him. Like, let these guys build as a unit. Like, what's the point of really benching Tyrod Taylor? I think, and all along, I'm sorry, like, I was paying attention to it last year in the contract negotiations. They didn't trust Tyrod. They didn't trust him at all. Like, the contract they gave him had so many holes in it. Like, it was BS for real. I don't think they never trusted him to begin with. And I just feel like this benching him is another reason why they don't trust him. They're benching him so his contract isn't fully guaranteed. And they're hiding behind the injury clause. Like, that's just what I feel about these guys. And I think they're making a big mistake. And if they decide to let Tyrod walk, if they cut him, if they trade him, anything like that, if they do that, I think they're making a big mistake. But hell, it might be great for Tyrod. He can get the hell up out of there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say, because that's just well, this is all 32. We got to be respectful to all teams, but at the same time, I mean, Jamual, like, that's not a good franchise. It's not a well-run franchise right now. It's not a well-run team. You can kind of, I think you're right that they're doing them dirty, but like, you can't be surprised, can you? I mean,
and it's just frustrating because people like this. It happens like this all the time.
Yeah.
And some people, and it happens backwards too. Like, some people stay long enough. Like, Tyrod has done work in 2 years, and you don't trust him. But there's other franchises who have coaches in place, and they have GMs in place, and they have players in place who constantly gets opportunities at the biggest positions. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick last year, this man was getting shopped around like he was Tom Brady. Like, his last name was Brady, bro. Like, and they ended up paying him $12 million. This fool wanted like 18, 19 million.
Right.
And he's getting mad because he got benched this year in October. Like, what are you crying for, bro? You had the worst turnover ratio in forever, bro. You're mediocre your whole entire career. Like, you never had a passer rating over 90, and you had that one time.
Yeah.
Your career passer rating is in the 70s.
Right.
But you're crying because you got benched. Like,
yeah.
And it's just crazy how many opportunities certain people get, like Marvin Lewis and Jeff Fisher. Marvin Lewis, obviously, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but Jeff Fisher, he just got fired after another season under 500 with the Rams. 5 straight years under 500 with him. But the opportunities he had 20 straight years as a head coach.
Yeah, wow.
Like, it's just crazy the amount of opportunities certain players get, certain players, coaches, and general managers.
Oh yeah.
That they get, and you got a guy like Tyrod who worked his ass off for the Buffalo Bills, and I know I might be making a big deal of it, but I just think that there's more to it. Like, it's not just the injury clause. They may be doing something more when it comes to Tyrod. That's just how I feel.
You think so?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, we'll see how. I hope they cut him, and I hope he get an opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah, cut him free.
Definitely. I don't know if he's going to be great, but he's definitely a great dual threat quarterback, and he'll do numbers for whatever team he goes to.
Well, shit. Speaking of players who get a million chances, I know we're running up to the end of the show here, but stick with us if you're so inclined. Let's talk a little about RG3 here real quick before we wrap. Yeah, that's another thing we had in our notes, and you just jogged my memory about them. So yeah, they've avoided a total shitstorm of a season. I mean, it's still a total shitstorm, but not a total shitstorm. I mean, they got to win.
Yeah, they got that W. I mean, that's all that matters at this point for them. So
is RG3 one of those guys that you're talking about that just has 9 lives that shouldn't, or is he another guy that got cut free and has better things on the horizon?
He doesn't have better things on the horizon.
Put it right out there.
But he doesn't. But
I
I
agree.
think he may be a serviceable backup, where he can come in and spot a guy for a couple plays or two, or maybe a game or two. Uh, but
How many games did he
he
miss
definitely
this
had.
year? Do you know?
He's only played two,
Yeah, there we go.
so yeah, there you go. That's the math right
This
there.
makes no
So
sense.
yeah, and I do think he's one of those guys who was, I wouldn't call him entitled, because when it comes to just a race thing in general, I wouldn't call him entitled, but he definitely had so many chances. Especially in Washington when he was starting, he in the off season after he hurt his knee in his rookie year, he's telling the media that his coach promised him week one if he's healthy. And then he gets hurt in 2014. He comes back. The owner forces him back. It's just a lot of things where he got so many opportunities. Even last year when he was with us, he got signed. He got the $15 million. What was it? Some clause in his contract or something. I'm not sure. But he was on the hook for 15 million. The Redskins were.
Oh
They
yeah,
kept
yeah, yeah.
him. Yeah. So it's like so many things that he definitely had so many opportunities to become better, especially as a pocket passer, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's reports. I did this research earlier just to, I wouldn't blind talk about what is going on in Cleveland, but they're saying the same things in Cleveland that we were saying here for 3 or 4 years. Well, not 4 years, but obviously 3 years after his rookie season. It's just the same stuff,
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I
and the
mean,
drama comes with him. So
right.
all the stuff that him and his girlfriend is doing on social media. So it's just
Yeah, I'm glad he at least waited to be off of the Redskins before he pulled all that crazy moves. But anyways,
right. So
and to think of all
I'm
those all those wedding gifts that Redskins fans bought for him and his wife, and he got divorced. Like as soon as he
oh yeah
divorced the team, he divorced her too. It was
oh
bullshit.
my goodness. Yeah, he came up. I'm pretty sure he got a few of them things still.
Yeah.
Whatever they are.
Yeah, whatever they are.
I
Well,
can't believe people did that. I really can't.
oh man, so many people did. Well,
That's
that's how much hope
fandom.
he inspired, and I guess now we've learned our lesson. Let's hope. Knock on
Yeah,
wood.
definitely. I definitely learned mine. I didn't give him shit, but
Yeah, no, me either.
I definitely learned mine. Like you don't get attached to players that fast at all.
Yeah, no, I feel stupid for even having the jersey. Yeah, I'm one of those people. Although I did get it as a gift, but anyway.
Oh man, shit, that ain't your fault then.
No, see, I'll still wear it. Fuck it. All right, well, we'll let everybody go with from there and enjoy your evenings. Once again, we hope you had great holidays. Continue to check us out. You can reach us over here at thehogsty.com. We also tweet from the Hog Sty Twitter account, so check us out there on social medias. Probably more developments there to come with All-32, but we hope you have enjoyed these first two episodes, and we got so much more sweet stuff on the horizon. So stick with us, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.